Good morning. I hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. How was your times at homeschooling your children? Put it in the comment section and let me know if you're struggling with anything or if you've had some wins. I want to know about that because it encourages me. And when you write things down, it gives you more confidence as well. So put it in the comment section what your wins were, what your challenges are, how we can pray for you. And a lot of times I know some people may say, wow, she's always talking about scripture. She's always talking about, Christianity, or she's always talking about prayer. But you know what? What else are we going to do? That's all we have, really, that's effective and that works. Prayer really, really works. So if you're struggling in your homeschool setting as a parent, begin to pray about it. I've been homeschooling 30 years. Well, all of my children are grown, and we're now homeschooling grandchildren. But it was prayer that got us through those hard times of homeschooling. Whether it was finances, whether it was dealing with a child who's not reading yet. Some of my homeschool friends, some of their children did not read until they were maybe 10 years old, 8 or 9 years old. So as long as your children are with you in that loving and wise setting of your home and in your presence, your children are going to be successful. Your children are going to do well because they have the best thing, which is you. We're going to talk about path. And last time when we were on, we talked about poems. We talked because April is National Poetry Month, and we talked about poems. When you begin to talk about things, all of a sudden, you can say all of a sudden, or you can say out of the blue, or you can say by chance, things will come. It's like the Lord begins to put you in that setting. And I was sharing with my good friend, Angela Valentine, who's on with me as well. I was sharing with her that because, National Poetry Month is, April, out of the blue, my brother, who lives in California, he sent a poem that he had written for me. And it just touched my heart. He had no idea that this was National Poetry Month or that I had even necessarily done a session on poems. He didn't know. But because we were talking about it, it's like the Lord, confirmed that through the poem that he wrote about his sister, which is me. And that just blessed me. We talked about poems and some of the benefits of poems, of poetry. And I just want to recap some of that to you. Poems do not have to rhyme. They can be prose, prose, where they're like 5 to 7 lines in the poem, but they don't necessarily have to rhyme. But they have to focus on the same theme. And poems can be good for children in that memorization. Children have spelling words. Remember when you used to have spelling tests every week? You remember that, Angela? You had about 10 spelling words every week or 20 spelling words that you had to learn how to spell. And, one of the principles of learning to spell is look at the word, say the word, spell the word, and then say the word again. Just those little 4 steps to successful spelling. So when we were kids, I don't know if they still do that in normal settings or traditional school settings, but I do know that as homeschool parents, lots of my friends did it. They still had spelling tests, and you focused on memorization. So with poetry, another benefit is memorizing. You use those brains, like when a child is writing, just the etching and the sketching of writing, it puts things on the brain toward memorization, and it strengthens the brain. If you want to do some more research on the brain and how writing helps the brain, I know they don't even do cursive writing anymore in your traditional settings. But as homeschool moms, we still do cursive writing. And some people say, well, what's the use in doing cursive writing? Why is it important? Simply because of what it does and how it strengthens the brain. Cursive writing and, of course, manuscript printing. And all of that, when you have children write poems, it encourages the brain for positive function. So I just wanted to share that with you. The next thing where poetry is concerned is when you get up and you recite it. Sunday evenings, after Sunday dinner, or it could be any day, but as a family, we chose Sunday afternoons where our children would get up and they would have to recite the poems that they wrote for the week. Just turn your house into a recital hall. Turn your house into an entertainment center, or one room into your house into an entertainment center, where you ask your children and you line them up and to present their written poetry to you. Or if it's not something they wrote, maybe it's from a famous poet that they like, they can write the poem and then recite it to the family. And then, of course, you give that child accolades. Yeah, what a good job you did. And even up until the time they're 16. Continue to do that. And you will see in time how they flourish with poems. I gave you some of my favorite poets like Anne Spencer, James Weldon Johnson. One of my favorite poets, of course, was Langston Hughes, and many, many, many others. Those are some African-American poets. Also, when you think about Emily Dickinson, is that right? Is it Emily Dickinson? Yes, Emily Dickinson. Her poems are so relaxing, when you sit back and sometimes during the day, I come into what I call my quiet room, and I have a book of poems. And I read, and before you know it, either I've gone into this calm, relaxing mode, or I'm asleep. Another great poet of mine is Alfred Lord Tennyson. He actually wrote The Highwayman, which is a very long versed poem, but it's the clapping and the rhythm that poem has that can excite a child. Middle age, maybe between 11 and 15, I recommend for that particular poem, The Highwayman by Alfred Lord Tennyson. One other poet, and he was right at the tip of Edgar Allan Poe, someone I absolutely love. My daughter and I, you never know how poems can form relationships, but they do. Every fall, going into winter, my daughter reminds me, Mom, it's time to read it's time to read Edgar Allan Poe. We sit by the fireplace, we have a cup of tea, and we read Annabel Lee, which is one of my favorite poems, and The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Don't worry about his life as much. His life was not all that modeling, but his work was amazing. So that's it for today as it relates to National Poetry Month. We are about to go into a whole new month, and we're going to be bringing some extra things to you that's going to make the month of May just sing for you. So continue teaching your children about poems. Don't give that up. Don't look at it as if it's worthless, because you're giving your children, jewels. You're giving your children treasures, something that they can hold on to even when they become adults. You know, I was thinking, I was at a show the other night. It's like the Broadway of Baton Rouge. My son, who's 39, received a phone call from this theater production, and basically they wanted him to play a part in this show. He accepted, and my husband and I went to see it the other night, and I'm telling you, he did a great job. And that was when he was a kid. We would do acting parts, like, say, for instance, what's a good poem? The Christmas Carol. Isn't that a poem by Charles Dickens? Christmas Carol? Well, when the children were young, we would use that poem, and each person had a segment of that poem to read, and they had to act it out. Now, they're not going to always be willing to do this, but as a mom, you have to inspire them. Let's do it. Let's do it. You can do it. I promise you, you can do it. And so now to see him acting before hundreds of people is very satisfying. It's fulfilling to see how what you shared with him as a mom, that they're able to do this now because of your seed. You're constantly planting seeds of poetry, seeds of science, seeds of history. You're constantly planting seeds in the life of your children. So come back, join us again next week, next month, when we're going to talk about all of the good things, the fruits of May. And I have other things to share with you as well. But right now, we're going to turn it over to Angela Valentine, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about Joyce Burgess's supplements, which you can get if you visit Joyce M. Burgess at, no, let's do that again, JoyceMBurgess.com. The supplements are available there. If you decide to become a member of the National Black Home Educators, you get the supplements as well if you become a member. So we encourage you, visit NBA contact email me at contact@nbhe.net, as well as visit our website at nbhe.net. The website address is nbhe.net. The email address is contact@nbhe.net. Getting it back together, Angela.
Very good. Only thing I would add to that, you've explained everything so beautifully, but if anyone is interested in the digital format of your supplements, then if they would email you at the email address that you gave, then we will make sure that they would get the download if you're in the right membership category. And also these are available with Google Classroom. So if anyone's using Google for Education for your homeschool, we do have these available in the classroom version. So just reach out to us and contact us and we'll get you that information.
Absolutely. And you know, that's something that we talk about, but we really want to emphasize to you the value of technology, especially being that you have some measure of control where your children are concerned, some parental controls. It can be safe and it can be secure, especially where Angela Valentine is concerned, with her training with Google. And I know a lot of parents are still kind of leery about technology, but there are safety measures out there that you can use to secure your children's safety, so to speak. Okay, take care, and we'll see you next time on PATH, Parents as Teachers at Home. Bye-bye.